What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of the Jericho Report Weekly News Briefing. It is Sunday, the 2nd of August, 2015. Welcome to August. Man, I really got to go back to doing a couple videos throughout the week because these links stack up if I don't. As always, the first link below will take you to the Blogspot post. That's where you can find all of this madness, and I hope you're ready because I got tons of it. Investigators probe plane wreckage for link to missing MH370. Has a wing from MH370 been found thousands of miles away from the search area? I don't know. But it certainly would go back to what Montagraph was saying about the plane taking off from Diego Garcia and being crashed into the ocean at a later time. I will make sure to include his video at the bottom in the shoutouts. I'll give you this link from Yahoo News. Other news going on, speaking of plane crash, Osama bin Laden's sister, who died alongside his stepmother in their $7 million private jet, exploded after overshooting the runway. Really? Bin Laden's family. From the Daily Mail. I'm not making this up. Put a link to that. Wrestling legend Rowdy Piper dead at 61, or was he promised a spot in the dumb? I don't know. Did he play in the movie, what was it? They Live? Check that movie out if you haven't seen it. Goes all with the New World Order. They were trying to tell us something in that movie. Anyway, rest in peace, man. Also, Whitney Houston's daughter is dead, or taken to the dumb. Either way, from Hawaii News Now. Remember, she had some problems a while back. Obama jokes about birth certificate during Kenya visit. Well, of course you would, scumbag. Put a link to that from Huff Politics. Speaking of Obama, Obama said, if I ran for a third term, I could win. He just thinks he's the greatest president there ever was. That from We Are Change. They got a video report on that. Trump dominates news headlines nightly on election study shows. No crap. Everything is Donald Trump. That is great. Isn't it entertaining? And that's all it is entertainment, in my opinion. Meanwhile, Trump supporters are racist and not patriotic Americans. Appeals to fear and prejudice, says Lindsey Graham. Oh, Lindsey, are you just mad because he gave out your phone number? Are you mad, bro? You're starting to rage. Over to Ebola news. Ebola vaccine is potential game changer. Apparently, they have a vaccine that can just wipe out Ebola. I'll put a link to it from BBC. People don't understand why I don't think this is good news and why I don't support vaccines. I do not trust the vaccine manufacturers. If you do, hey, go get the shot. It's up to you. Whatever happened to what's his name, the scientist, the Baxter scientist, Joseph Moshe? What was he trying to tell us back in 2009? Google that name. Anyway, I'll put a link to this story. Speaking of Ebola, Sierra Leone faces Ebola setback. 500 under quarantine. Well, that's no problem. Give them the shot. Why don't I trust the vaccine manufacturers? Well, because they're all in bed with the government. Check this out. U.S. government admits Americans have been overdosed on fluoride. Yeah, no doubt. Put a link to that. And here's another reason. Cancer industry profits locked in by molecule injected into humans via vaccines. So you go ahead and trust the vaccine manufacturers all you want. I don't trust any of them. You know, for all I know, we have all these weird cancers these days because of crap they shot in us years ago. Over to financial news. How the Dow did on Friday. Looks like it fell 56 points. For the week, it was up 121. 17,689 is where it closed, still well under 18. Chinese regulator vows to share support after markets tumble 8.5% in one day. 8.5% in the Chinese markets gone in one day. That from Yahoo Finance. That's pretty big numbers. Homeownership rates dropped to 63.4%, lowest since 1967, says CNBC in the U.S. Meanwhile, Greek debt crisis aids to spike in burglaries and robberies. Well, give people $20 a day out of the ATM, there's bound to be an increase in crime. McDonald's sales drop worldwide as healthy food giants gains momentum, rather. That July 28th from Your News Wire. Right on, screw McDonald's. Speaking of that, lines out the door at nation's first organic drive-thru restaurant. July 28th, not sure what state that's in, but I'll put a link to it right on. Uber, let's talk about Uber, the most valuable startup in the world. This from Hawaii News Now via CNN. Speaking of Uber, Uber drivers attacked outside Mexico airport as taxi drivers demonstrate. I can understand your frustration, but, you know, times are changing. Put a link to that from The Guardian. We got a couple more here. Government says Chrysler must offer to buy back 500,000 pickups. Be advised, recalls of Chryslers. That from MSN Money. Meanwhile, if you have a Honda motorcycle, Honda recalls more than 45,000 motorcycles. That July 30 from Hawaii News Now. A couple more. Mitch McConnell push through voice vote to fund Planned Parenthood and protect Obama's Iran deal. This whole Planned Parenthood thing, how they're selling baby parts. Well, there's a push to keep Planned Parenthood funded. Meanwhile, 18 House representatives pledge to shut down government if Planned Parenthood is not defunded. And you know, that crap's been going on for a long time. Look up the ingredients in a can of Pepsi. You'd be surprised what you come up with. Over to New World Order and Police State News. Dashcam video shows Medford police officer threatening driver This is out of Medford, I don't know what state. CBS Boston's who's putting it out. I guess this is a guy that threatened to blow the guy's head off because he was going the wrong way down the street or something like that. We Are Change says California police use excessive force on mentally ill man July 29, 2015. What else is new? Meanwhile, over in Hawaii police officer charged with assault for body slam. Comply, slave. Another one from We Are Change. Gay man pulled from home, beaten by NYPD officers yelling faggot in horrifying video. Just reading the story. I'll put a link to it. Craziness. We got another African-American woman killed in police custody. Sarah Lee Circle Bear, I guess that's her name, died while in police custody. Family seeks justice. This is a new one. This is on top of the Sandra Bland. This came out 7/28/2015. Not sure what state that's in. I'll put a link to it. People dying in police custody left and right. University of Cincinnati police officer who shot man during traffic stop has been charged with murder. Right on, something goes right. The grand jury apparently found enough evidence to charge him with murder. Meanwhile, the military is under attack. Facebook says Marine Corps emblem violates community standards. Screw Facebook. Put a link to that. Speaking of the military, you know, this whole thing down in, what was it, Chattanooga with this on-base shooting or whatever. Well, apparently one of the naval personnel who returned fire is being charged, or they're talking about charges against him because he wasn't supposed to have a weapon. Yeah, God forbid he defend himself. I'll put a link to this. It's just outrageous. He's going to be charged with a crime because he wasn't supposed to have a weapon. Well, it's a good thing he had a weapon. It's a good thing somebody could return fire. Homeland Security Chief says we won't call Chattanooga Islamic terrorism out of respect for Muslims. I am not making this up. Right-wing news puts this out. Obama says Americans having guns is worse than Islamic terrorism. Americans having guns is worse than Islamic terrorism. All you people at the DHS, the FBI, all of the people that are looking at us like we're the extremists. You have a man in the White House that is constantly attacking the United States Constitution, and you do nothing about it. Nothing. But we're the enemy. Okay, whatever. Put a link to that. Alert, UN makes massive move to destroy the U.S. Constitution. Speaking of the Constitution, put a link to that. One more here. The DHS and FEMA plan for extremists and government propaganda sponsored by U.S. Congress, yada yada, from SGT report. I didn't look into it, but I'm sure it's more the same. Over to World War III news. Explosion shuts down Iran-Turkey national gas pipeline. Not sure if that's World War III related, but that's where it ended up. Put a link to that from ABC News. From The Guardian, Turkey's peace with Kurds splinters as car bomb kills soldiers. Put a link to that. Got a lot more than World War III, man. We got tweet. Now look at this. Let's go to the Iran deal. Tweet from Iran's leader's account seems to show Obama with a gun to his head. That's what Iran thinks about the whole deal. They're actually tweeting out pictures of Obama with a gun to his head. Iran. I'll put a link to it. Makes me think of Operation Blackjack. Don't we bomb Iran in the whole Operation Blackjack scenario? That's out there somewhere. John Kerry says we don't have access to actual agreement on Iran's side deals. All kinds of secret deals going on inside this Iran deal that they don't even have access to. What? From Breitbart, put a link to it. Got one from the AP. Despite bombing, Islamic State is no weaker than it was a year ago. That's being reported from the AP July 31. Meanwhile, Islamic State recruiting offsets 15,000 killed by airstrikes in past year. Apparently, they've recruited 15,000, so they're just as strong as they were. So we're constantly killing people for no reason. U.S. issues worldwide caution for its citizens on terror threats. Is any wonder that the real terrorists around the world are looking to kill Americans when you think about the fact of how many innocent people are we killing in all these bombings? Sorry, we dropped the bomb on your village and killed your whole family. We were only going for that guy, but we killed 50 other people. I'll put a link to it. It's understandable people's frustration with America. Terrorist-linked crime ring infiltrated the Bank of England. What? July 31. I don't know. From We Are Change. Meanwhile, Russia Russia uses veto to block MH17 tribunal. You know, MH17 apparently got hit by a Russian rocket. Well, they're saying they're not going to have anything to do with investigating that. North Korea rules out nuclear deal. Says weapons are not a plaything. No, North Korea is feeling left out because we're talking Iran deals. I'll put a link to that. Low Kim, go back to your Xbox. The military will test a new terrifyingly loud noise gun. Put a link to this. This isn't the World War III bin, but no doubt it'll probably be used on the American people at some point. I mean, the LRAD was. One more in the World War III bin. NATO to launch largest military exercise in 13 years will involve 36,000 soldiers, sailors, and airmen from 30 countries. We're over to Earth changes in 2012 news now. Looks like we had a 6.3 quake out of Alaska on the 29th, 7.0 on the 27th out of Indonesia. Oklahoma had a 4.5 on the 27th, another 6.9 in Alaska on the 27th. I put a link to USGS, big quakes on the left, small quakes on the right, a lot of small quakes as always. Speaking of earthquakes, We Are Change put one out. Can the government truly predict earthquakes? This July 26, 2015. HARP, CERN, all kinds of other stuff we might not know about. I don't know. We got, be advised, my friends in Hawaii, Category 2 hurricane heading your way. I put a link to this. I think it's going to be there within a day or two. I'm sure you guys are already aware of that. Alaska's terrifying wildfire season and what it says about climate change. This is from the Washington Post. Apparently wildfires going on in Alaska. Meanwhile, over in Iran, look at this. Iran City hits suffocating heat index of 165 degrees. Near the world record. 165 degree heat index in Iran. Speaking of Iran, Iran confirms meteor hit. Apparently Iran was hit by a meteor. This came out July 31. I don't know the source, but I'll put a link to it. Space.com, gobbling up space debris. Speaking of meteors, a Pac-Man approach proposed. No doubt we have littered the orbits around our planet, all kinds of trash floating around. So now, all these years later, we got to come up with an idea to pick up all this trash. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to get a spaceship out here without hitting something. I'll put a link to this. We probably should have thought of it at the beginning, Moonbase would be cheap with help from private industry, says report. This from space.com, July 27. We should have been living on the moon years ago. Think where we could be if we didn't spend quadrillions of dollars on war. Think about it. Put a link to that. On with the news. Removal starts a protective shroud over reactor at Fukushima #1. Okay, that from the Japan Times. Now, look at this. 5 years later, look at what you got to pull it up and check out this link. Fukushima, almost 5 years later, and look what's still happening. They took a thermographic from over. You can see the radiation just pouring out into the ocean. You got to pull it up. This picture, I can't explain it to you. You just got to pull it up and check it out. Unbelievable. It's still Fukushima is going to kill everybody within. Just give it time. Other news going on, Shell icebreaker heads back to dock after standoff with protesters. Apparently they were hanging from the bridge. I think it was the Greenpeace people. Meanwhile, speaking of radiation, are you prepared for major solar storm? World will have just 12 hours warning if sun erupts. That from the Daily Mail. Are they prepping us for something 2012 like? Over to strange and bizarre news. Be advised, adult content. Florida grandfather killed in front of family during road rage. Did you see this crazy road rage crap going on in Florida? I'll put a link to Daily News. They got a video on it. You got to check. It's just bizarre. Police probe. Look at this. Police probe decapitation of Arizona woman and her dogs. Apparently, Arizona woman has had her head cut off along with her dogs. I'm telling you, we need to ban knives. They're killing people. Meanwhile, Stephen Hawking says ban killer robots before they take over. Stephen Hawking, apparently killer robots going to kill everybody. They're talking life sciences putting this out. I don't know. Fox 31 says woman jailed for disruption in theater shooting courtroom. Apparently she is claiming that she's the shooter's mom. She's going under a mental health exam. There's something weird going on with that theater shooting. I'll put a link to that. Hungry man calls police on cat for eating his bacon. Don't eat my bacon. I'll call the police. The Daily News. This is not a joke. Fox News says, deal with it yourself. Dispatcher hung up on woman giving first aid to shooting victim. I understand 911 dispatchers have a stressful job. They're constantly dealing with panicked people. But you just can't say deal with it yourself and hang up. And what the hell's the matter with you? Put a link to that. I'm sure he's been fired. Brazilian cyclist lifts parked car off blocked bike path. Get your car out of my way. Put a link to that. Right on. Good for him. Meanwhile, Hillview man arrested for shooting down drone cites right to privacy. We knew we were going to see this crap with these drones. Apparently somebody has shot down a drone over his property. You tell me. In lieu of guns, recruiting officers stack sandbags for self-defense. Our soldiers cannot have weapons to defend themselves in their own workplace, but they're going to stack sandbags. I'm not making this up. From Breitbart. Sandbags, I guess, will stop incoming bullets. Man accused in night vision goggles case will go to Utah. Apparently somebody trying to buy night vision goggles in China. I didn't know that was against the law. I'll put a link to that from Wine News Now. Weird. People has this. Satanic Monument debuts in Detroit ahead of Arkansas visit. I got one to go with that. Speaking of satanic stuff, Nepal boy slain in human sacrifice ritual. For all other news, please check my favorite videos. I have favorited tons of videos over the past week. Thank you to everybody who puts out content. You got to go over there and at least check out the one with there's at Walmart, they're selling dolls that are twerking. That's where we are as society. Definitely pull up my favorites. Check it out. Shout outs this week. Shout out to Vince Vaughn. Says, Snowden is a hero. The drug war is a failure and guns aren't for hunting. Vince Vaughn, I love your style. It's good to see somebody in Hollywood speaking up. Shout out to TheTrutherGirls. She did an in-depth video on that whole satanic monument thing up in Detroit. 4-minute video. You want to check her thing out there. Shout out to Montagraph. You know, who was it? Richard Quest. If you think that we don't have an impact making these videos, Richard Quest was talking about MH370. He was talking about, if this is actually a plot from MH370, then this rules out the whole possibility of that the plane was taken to, he actually said Diego Garcia. And do you know why he said Diego Garcia? Because of Montagraph's video. It got over 1 million views, and I will definitely link it at the bottom. You want to hear what Montagraph had to say about MH370, because that may well be the case. The people were dropped off at Diego Garcia. The plane may have taken off at a later date and been deliberately crashed into the ocean. Montagraph covers all that, and if this is indeed, I don't think they verified it yet as I shoot this video, but if this is a part from 370, hey, I don't know, you tell me what you think. Please rate this report, please pass it around, make people aware of current events. It's craziness. You can also follow me on Google+, Facebook, and Twitter for live show alerts, breaking news alerts, new upload alerts, always posted there when they're up. I'm sorry this is a longer report. I'm sorry I'm stumbling over my words. I'm trying to give you so much information, and it all just doesn't come out the right way all the time. I am going to try to get back to doing a couple videos throughout the week, though, because I like to have 8 to 10 stories per category. This week I got 12 stories per category, which is going to take me just hours to put all this stuff together. So if I do a few videos through the week, it kind of lightens the load, but I've just been so tied up with other things, but I will try to get back to that. So anyway, pick one story, pick all the stories. Tell me what you think about all this madness, this craziness. Has MH370 been found? If so, did it take off from Diego Garcia at a later date and deliver? Tell me what you think. Check out Montagraph's video at the bottom. You guys take care, stay safe always. I will see you on the next one.